Hi, my name is Mike, and today I'll be reviewing the film Freaks, which is a 1932 film directed by Ted Browning and written by Todd Robbins. Basically, it's a story about a group of physically deformed circus performers who were harshly referred to as freaks. And one of these freaks is a midget named Hans who falls in love with a beautiful non-freak artist named Cleo. And once Cleo finds out that Hans has inherited a fortune, she's all over him, and they end up getting married. However, this marriage is basically a ploy between Cleo and her real lover, Hercules. So they start slipping Hans poison basically in an attempt to try to kill him. And once the rest of the freaks learn of these attempts to try to kill him, they end up killing Hercules and transforming Cleo into one of us, they said. Um, in my opinion, this is not a normal film by any means, and I give Mr. Robbins and Mr. Browning credit for attempting it, but personally, I think they failed, or at least that's what my original reaction was. The film starts out with a poorly choreographed scene where you could literally see the microphone hovering overhead, and understanding that the film was filmed in 1932. It was very poor quality, even for that time and era, I think. It was dark and choppy throughout the movie, hopping from one unrelated scene to the next. On top of this, not all, but some of the acting was of poor quality, especially when it came to the part of Hercules, in my opinion. And I don't think the background music really helped it either. Um, my main criticism of the film is that they didn't really develop the characters. Maybe it's just me, but like they didn't draw me into the characters at all. Like I didn't really care what happened to them. The film was lost on me too. Like they didn't have a real protagonist. Like yeah, they had Hans who we didn't want to see get screwed over, but at the same time that wasn't really enough to me. Um, Personally, I think the film would be very controversial in today's day and age, and I imagine it was pretty controversial back then even. Um, the movie itself was divided into seemingly unconnected scenes with no consistency whatsoever. I assume the intent was to divide the film into maybe chapters, but in reality, it resulted in a very illogical, choppy presentation. There was no flow at all. I also recall from my research of the film that it was not really a big hit. It wasn't very popular when it first released, but once it was rediscovered and resurrected in the 60s, or the hippie generation, I thought to myself maybe they should have just left it sleeping and not resurrected it. But um, yeah, like I said, they didn't really do a good job of making me care like where the movie was going. It just felt like it dragged on for a really long time. Um, However, it did have one consistent theme throughout the film, and that's that the freaks all looked out for each other, probably because they can only understand and emphasize what it's like to live life so horribly deformed and be cast away as freaks of society. Like only they know what it's like to be in each other's shoes. While I wasn't a big fan of the film, it did start to turn around for me a little bit in the scene where Frida confronts Hans about Cleo's plot and ends up confronting Cleo herself. It I began to realize that perhaps the beautiful Cleo is the real freak here, and I began to start caring what happened to Hans and found myself wanting to see revenge on her, on Cleo. I wanted to see her be one of us, like they said, and well, it was never explained how she got that hideous chicken woman state. I suppose it was enough that she did. And these so-called freaks stuck to each other because that's all they had in their cruel world was each other. And Cleo violated that pact big time. But reflecting on the movie, I believe it was ahead of its time. All the beautiful people aren't always so beautiful, and obviously all the freaks aren't always freaks. Um, I also found it kind of heartwarming how Hans and Frida, I just blanked. Hans and Frida, two beautiful people, ended up finding each other in the end. So yeah, I found that kind of nice. And that movie made me realize that we've come a long way in our society since the movie was made and released. For the most part, we no longer like leave people out because of their physical disabilities or challenges or whatever. It's socially unacceptable to do that in today's day and age. Um, while this does not diminish their formidable challenges that they face in their lives, they now have access to basic necessities such as like public transportation, the job market, etc. Stuff like that. While it's not perfect, our society today accepts and accommodates physically challenged people. Like I said, that it's like unacceptable to leave them out today. While we still have ways to go, we've definitely come a long way from the days where they were banished to a life sentence as freaks in the circus, and that's my beautiful takeaway. I guess that's my takeaway from this film. But yeah, overall, I didn't enjoy the film completely, but it did start to turn around, and I got a takeaway from it. So, thank you.